everyone, this is Grandmaster Damian Lemos here for iChess.net. Welcome to this new video where we'll be talking about the upcoming match between Magnus Carlsen against Fabiano Caruana. Of course, it is tough to predict what is going to happen in this match, but here is what I think. The match is going to be equal. I think they both have, it's close to 50-50, and my reasons are: Magnus, we know he's the best, he's probably the best player of the last 20 years, maybe the best player of all time. That is a discussion as well. But Fabi, or let's say Caruana, everybody calls him Fabi, he's been improving consistently during the last few years. He's been improving a lot, and he has, in my opinion, a stronger opening preparation than Magnus. We see Magnus, who's, as I said, the greatest player out there, playing the London a lot. And not only, I don't want to say specific openings, but when it comes to theory battles, he tries choosing quiet lines. Whereas Fabi, he likes playing sharp lines as well. He seems to be very well prepared. That's what I think. And middle game wise or end game wise, I think they are just too close. I mean, they are equally skilled players. So if someone deserves to challenge Magnus, I think it is Fabi. So of course I'm looking forward to see what's going to happen in this match, and time will tell. If I have to give numbers, I think it's pretty close to 50-50. Of course, Magnus, who is the best player for years, has to have a small advantage, but that is for bookmakers, I think. I would say it's 50-50. So okay, for this video I decided to show a game between these two, of course. This was Carlsen against Caruana. This game was played back in 2013. So let's see. Magnus was playing white and Caruana was playing black. Knight to f3. The reti, we see this more and more at the top level because it is a flexible opening. As white we can play a d4, maybe the English. We can of course continue with the reti ideas, or King's Indian attack with Shakhriyar. So okay, knight f6. White continues within reti territory, d5. This is by far the most solid setup black can play against the reti. c6 d5 is a nice wall to counter white's bishop. White castles, and black plays this move. He does so before playing e6. If he plays e6 now, his bishop is not that good. So this move is one of the options. He can also try playing the London system with reversed colors, like this, e6, h6. There is another variation to meet the reti, but I like this one. And okay, here white has a lot of options, h3, d3, but Magnus played c4, black plays e6, white takes, and now an interesting in-between move by black, bishop takes f3. I like this move because the rising position after this is good for black, because white's bishops, they don't have a lot of open diagonals, as we'll see in this game. We can also take on d5. I mean, this or c takes are options as well, but black was probably concerned about stuff like knight e5, or probably not finding a good square for this bishop. So if he plans on placing most of his pawns on light squares, I mean, giving this bishop is a good idea. Okay, white doesn't have any in-between move here. I mean, he cannot take on e6 or c6. He has to take, and he obviously takes with the bishop. Taking with the pawn would be a disaster. So takes, and now black takes with the c pawn. We are reaching a Slav setup, whereas black has the chance of placing a knight on c6. And again, white's bishops, they are not special. That being said, white always has a small advantage, like symbolic advantage, because one day he can open up that position. But black remains solid, and we can tell he equalized already. So c takes d5, Magnus plays knight c3, okay, knight c6, d4. Well, white has to claim some space in the center. He can try playing b3, bishop b2 to keep this diagonal open, but one day he has to play either d3 or d4, and I think d4 is the way to go, so he plays it here. Bishop e7. Easy stuff from black. He plays bishop e7, he castles, and then he's probably playing rook c8. So this could easily be a game from the World Championship match. I mean, solid stuff by both sides. They are going to try to beat the other in the middle game, I'm pretty sure. So bishop e7, white plays e3. Okay, this is definitely improving my bishop on f3. And then bishop c1 will develop this way. So black castles and white plays b3. So okay, the reason I chose this game, as you'll see very soon, is that white, he's playing simple chess. And this is what Magnus does. He plays better than his opponents in all sorts of positions, but he tends to overplay them in simple positions like this. You probably noticed that by analyzing his games. He wins starting from equal positions or simple positions, and this is one of them. Almost symmetrical structure. All white has here is, I mean, if he wants to claim an advantage, it's because of his bishops, but that's it. But here is where Fabi shows he can play simple chess too, and that is one of the reasons I think he can beat Magnus. Queen a5, I like this move, bishop b2, and bishop a3. I mean, black, of course, is delighted to trade pieces off because his main idea in the opening is to equalize, but here it's more than trading pieces off. I think the knights might be better than knight and bishop, because that position, apart from the c-file, it is closed, and in closed positions we prefer the knight pair. So queen c1, okay, white is going to fianchetto the queen at least, and he's also taking control of these two squares. I mean, if he played something else, if white played something like this, the queen on a3 is annoying for white. We also have, as black, the b4 square, the c-file. It's like black is dominating on the queen side, whereas black, he doesn't have any kingside attack. So this queen c1 is a nice move. Bishop takes, queen takes, and now another deep move by Caruana, rook f to c8. It looks like they are both the same, but I think rook fc8 is more accurate. There's nothing going on the king side, and the rook on a8 might be useful in the future. It is tough to give an example, but suppose one day we can play a5, a4, or maybe we can hide the queen on d8 now and the rook on f8 is not blocked. So very precise move by Fabi. We might transpose, I mean, rook c7, rook ac8. It's like playing rook ac8, rook c7 and rook fc8. It is the same. So good development move. Not to mention black has a threat already. As you can see, he's trying to play knight takes c4 and he wins a pawn. So white plays rook ac1. Okay, here I would consider playing queen d8. Maybe it is too careful, but I mean my queen on a5 will be pushed back sooner or later, so queen d8. If I have to play knight d7, I'll control these key squares, so knight a4 is not annoying, and then I go for rook c7, rook c8. I think black has no issues equalizing here, but Fabi goes for more, and he plays knight to e7. Clearing the c file, we'll see a lot of trades coming, and the knight on e7 also supports the c8 square, so he can play this plus rook c8. So far in this game, white didn't get much. I mean, I don't blame him. It is tough when your opponent plays super solid and he is well prepared as well. Nowadays in the opening it's almost impossible to get something if black plays it right. Or you have to be creative as white, that is the other option. Okay, Magnus plays knight to a4, knight d7. Now we control c5, the trades are coming, we might consider queen d8. This is 100% equal, but here is where the game becomes interesting. Magnus plays knight c5. And, well, it is understandable, he wants to win. He's playing white, and I bet he wants to win every single game he plays. So this is an aggressive move. He's trying to change the position structure, so I understand this knight c5. The point is, knight takes, pawn takes, and then rook takes c5 doesn't look good because I have b4. And if he plays something else, then I can play b4 myself, a3, b4, I can try playing e4, and suddenly my bishop is good. If I keep my pawn on c5, then I'll have 3 against 2 on the queen side, so I mean that position changed a lot, and white has a reason to play for a win. So, I mean, without analyzing much, I would say rook c7 is a move for black, trying to play this, but not changing the pawn structure. But the truth is, knight takes c5 is a huge mistake, and Fabi, apart from being a solid player, apart from having a great opening preparation, he's also great at tactics, and he has proven this in a lot of tournaments. He just won the Granky tournament like a week or 2 weeks ago, and he was playing brilliant chess from the tactics point of view. You should check his last games. Okay, so knight takes, d takes, here is the tactic. Rook takes c5, b4 is what white played, but I think Magnus, well, it is obvious he overlooked this rook b5. This even happens to the strongest player out there, so this can happen to all of us, obviously, but the point here is Caruana is able to exploit these mistakes, and this can happen the other way. I mean, Magnus, of course, could be black in this position, but what I'm trying to say is some players against Magnus, because of the pressure, they feel they wouldn't spot this knight takes e5, rook takes, and rook b5 variation. Even strong players like 2700. During the match between Carlsen and Anand, we saw Magnus making a mistake, losing a pawn, and Anand just didn't see it. And that is the pressure that the World Championship match generates. So I'm confident Fabi is going to exploit these mistakes if they happen. So after rook b5, well, white is not lost, but he just lost a pawn. And a pawn for a player like Caruana is sometimes good enough to win. So rook b5. Now, if white takes, rook takes b2, my rook happens to be too powerful, so white decides to play a3. Black plays it safe, queen d8. And white, his best card here is to trade as much as he can and try drawing the rook endgame. We know rook endgames, even if your opponent is up 2 pawns, it's never easy to win. They are complex, so white tries trading as much as he can. Knight takes d5. This makes a lot of sense. We know Magnus, we are used to see him in winning or equal positions, but when he is sort of lost or inferior, he plays very well too. He puts maximum pressure on his opponents, so that is why he's the best. Okay, queen b6. Maybe taking on c5 is possible too, but then, yeah, there's no need to allow this. So queen b6 takes. Now, yeah, the b4 pawn is in trouble. We are under a pin, so white decides to play this move. Pawn takes, rook c1. I think white has enough resources to hold this. As you can see, if you check this with the computer, it says that position is equal already. So we see how strong Magnus plays even when he is down material wise. But okay, in practice, the pawn, the extra pawn, counts. Okay, h6. Black, he doesn't need to be too careful yet with moves like b6, because white's first rank is unprotected, so h6 is just fine, giving some room for his king just in case. So let's see how the game continues. b6, rook d1. Black has nothing to lose, of course. He is going to try to win this endgame. Takes, takes, rook takes b4. And yeah, according to the books, this should be a draw, but in practice it's never easy, we know that. And well, black is going to try as much as he can to win this. h4, okay, rook d7. We know in rook endgames what usually save us is our rook activity, so I like this rook d7 and rook b7, and this rook e4 is another good try too. Why? Because I prefer having the rook on e6 to protect this pawn rather than having the rook behind my pawn. I mean, if king here, I play rook b7, and black, if he wants to improve, he'll have to sacrifice something. I mean, the king cannot come to d8 or c8. I have too many targets on the 7th rank, and if I stay with my rook on b4, even if I play b5, suppose I play this. I mean, my rook on b1 is sort of passive, and my rook is way too active. So what Caruana tries here, I think it's very good. Rook e4. This is like the only chance he has to place his rook on e6 before we play rook b7. And okay, this is what black does. Now, possible plan would be like placing my rook on f6 and then my king, little by little, approaches c8. So that would be a plan. But Magnus plays this. Again, we are interested in trading as much as we can. And I like this move by black. I mean, we can also play others. I mean, the plan is just said, it is possible, but here he's gonna check me till the end, and I cannot come to the 6th rank. Maybe I can play something like this, but this is the main issue. White is able to trade a lot of pawns. This, rook f5, I can take. And then these 2 against 1, it is an easy draw at this level. So maybe Fabi knew this is a draw, but he's going to try as hard as he can to keep some kingside pawns to avoid white from advancing too much. And here, well, what can we play? This is over-ambitious. I think this is a mistake. As white, I want to trade as much as I can. So this has to be drawing. Of course, it is easier said than done when you're playing the real game against Carlsen, Caruana, and I played both. I played Magnus when we were 13, but I played Fabi at 2011, I guess, and he was 2700 already, and the pressure, you feel it. So, as I was saying, it's easier said than done. I think here white has enough resources to hold this. If rook here, I play this. And yeah, hopefully as white, we trade enough pawns to claim equality here. Magnus played f4 immediately. I think swapping pawns on c5 first was better, but who knows. Takes, king f3, rook f6. This looks equal anyway because white plays this move. And if black takes this, rook c6, I take on f4. This is close to impossible to win for black because of the f7 pawn. If he plays this, well, I takes, and this is drawish as well. So okay, c5, Fabi plays rook c6. I like this move, I really like it, because white, because he decided to leave the pawn on h4, now we have extra possibilities as black, and that is, if king takes, well, of course he can trade, and that is a draw, but he can try playing h5 now. And white is left with 2 pawns instead of 1. I mean black, the same of course. And the more pawns we have, the better chances we have as well. Compare this position with h5 with this one where white has the chance of getting rid of these 2 pawns. I think this was the little mistake, or let's say the expensive mistake Magnus made in this game. So, okay, this, rook c6, awesome try by Fabi. If this I play rook takes, and suddenly I take on h4 with check. This is a pity for white because otherwise this would be a draw. And if king takes, h5. I think the game is still drawish, but black has more pawns to fight. So king f5. I think white still has enough activity to claim equality here, but black continues the pressure with king c7. We have to play rook b8. Rook d7 would be a mistake because I can play b5 and rook c5 check. Little by little black continues advancing, so rook b8, it is much better to control the b6 pawn. Check, king f4, rook b5. It is amazing how Fabi is improving this position, and one day hopefully he'll improve his king as well. King e4, rook b1. Here we'll see a couple of moves where black is trying to see what's going on, and yeah, white can also make a mistake in the process. As black we have nothing to lose, so king e5, maybe king f5 was a bit better, because after king e5 he has the chance of playing this. Okay, check. Here, rook f8, okay, rook b8 is likely to transpose, although here I can play this, and at some point what black is going to do is take the h4 pawn. He's gonna forget about b6, but this h5 pawn is the one deciding the game. So okay, rook f8, here this is likely to be a repetition, so black plays rook takes h4. I mean, as I said, b6, this is too far away from promoting. We forget about this pawn. h5 is going to decide. And here Magnus played rook takes f7. I don't blame him. This is the obvious move. According to the analysis, rook b8 offered much better chances than rook takes f7, but this is almost impossible to realize unless you use an engine. So rook takes f7, king here, now he plays rook f6. Well, rook f8 maybe. The only trick I see is that if king takes I can play this, but I hide my king on h6. Or I can play something like this too and try hiding my king this way. In the meantime he has to care about b6. So rook f6, king takes, rook takes b6. And okay, black only has an extra pawn, but the difference here is made by the king e5 being cut. And because of this cut, the game is decided in black's favor. So rook a4, I mean now we are all set to advance as black. Rook b8, now another key move by black. h4 would be a huge mistake because he plays this, and we cannot come across the fourth rank. This king f5, we can also be mated here if we don't play well, so here white reaches this area, and this is an easy draw. So before playing h4, we can play this. The king comes first, and then then we advance our pawn. So check, king f3, I like it, king h3. What about this move? Is it enough? I think I can bring my king h4, I can play something like this, and the main issue is if I move my king here, he's going to check me a lot, and I don't see how to cover my king. So from this position onwards, Fabi had an excellent technique, playing the only moves to win. King f3 is the only move to win. Check, king here, rook g8 and king to h2. Now the king is safe. He doesn't have checks on the lateral side, and now the h4 pawn advances without opposition. As we said earlier, this cut decides the game. So now king there. This is not helping because we have king h4 and he runs out of checks. Then h2 is coming next. And if this, well, I can just play this. And we are almost there. So king g5. So let's see how this game finishes. Now we take the second rank and we just prepare this and h2. So he plays this move, reasonable try, this, rook d8 and check. Now after the check the rook is no longer on the c-file, so I prepare this plus h2. Here white resigns. If king e4, let's see a possible continuation. King e4, king here, king e3, h2. And after this, well, we are not promoting yet because that would be a draw, but I play this and that's it. There's no way to stop h1 queen and the game is over. So, as you can see, a very tough game. Even if Magnus makes a mistake, which is unlikely, the game is going to be tough. Because in order to beat these guys, you have to punch them like 3 or 4 times and then you win. But that is, as I said, for them to make a mistake, like losing a pawn, as we saw in this game, that is not likely to happen. But who knows? The pressure, the World Championship match, those are scenarios only they know. And I think in this match we'll see some mistakes. Or some action. We'll see some action. And, well, before we finish this video, as I said, to predict something, I would say the chances are close to 50-50. So I hope you enjoyed this material, hope you found this useful, and we'll continue doing this series. We'll see more games between these two, and hopefully you can make your own predictions as well based on what we analyze. So that's all, and I'll see you guys in my next videos. Thank you.